She clapped the loudest when I started winning, until she realized the spotlight wasn't big enough for both of us. If you'd asked me 6 months ago who I trusted most in the world, I would have said Taylor without blinking. We met freshman year of high school in the back row of Algebra 1. I had a busted-up notebook and a shy smile, and she had glitter eyeliner, no pencil, and zero intention of learning anything that day. We've been inseparable ever since. Birthday sleepovers, road trips, heartbreaks, and late-night deep talks that drifted from dumb memes to our biggest fears. I used to call her my sister. That's the part that stings the most. Because while I was building something real, she was quietly collecting everything she could until I wasn't useful anymore. Let me rewind a little. About a year ago, I started a small skincare brand. Nothing fancy, just a few homemade products, all natural with clean packaging and soft launch vibes. I never imagined it would grow past my kitchen, but then it did. I posted a TikTok explaining how I made one of my best sellers, and overnight it blew up. The views turned into follows. The follows turned into orders. The orders turned into real money. It was slow at first, but steady. I reinvested everything, built a website, took a business class, reached out to local creators. My boyfriend, Chris, even helped me build shelves in our apartment to keep inventory organized. It felt like everything I had worked toward was finally starting to come together. And Taylor? At first, she was my biggest cheerleader. "You're killing it, babe. I always knew you'd be the one to make it. This is our success. You're living our dream." I didn't even notice how many times she said "our." At first, she'd repost my content, leave comments, tag her friends, but then she started making jokes like, "I should get a cut from all these sales. I practically helped raise your follower count." I'd laugh, thinking she was joking. I mean, she had supported me, right? But then she did a live Q&A on her own Instagram. I tuned in halfway through, curious and excited, only to hear her say, "Yeah, I helped her shape the brand. The colors? That was me. The name? Literally my idea in high school." I nearly dropped my phone. The name, Bear Ritual, came from a random conversation with Chris after we watched a documentary about ingredient transparency in the beauty industry. Taylor hadn't even been there. That was the first time something felt off. I told Chris about it, but he shrugged. She probably didn't mean it like that. Maybe she just wants to feel included. And I agreed, because that's how it always was with Taylor. If she crossed a line, you were expected to laugh, move the line back, and pretend it never happened. Things kept escalating in small but steady ways. She started commenting on my business photos like, "That's my girl. Told you this would work if you followed my tips." She invited herself to meetings I had with potential collaborators. She used my skincare products in a GWM video, but never tagged my business. And worst of all, she started answering DMs as if she was me. I only found out because Mike, a small-time creator I had been networking with, messaged me like, "Hey, just confirming, Taylor said you wanted me to run the collab through her DMs?" I froze. Taylor had logged into my brand's Instagram once before, weeks ago, when I asked her to help with packaging delays. I guess she never logged out. I changed the password that night. A few days later, she called and casually said, "We should look into rebranding our messaging. I think people connect more with my tone." Our messaging? My tone? I didn't say anything in the moment. I just nodded, listened, and kept my voice steady. But I started writing everything down, not just for receipts, for me. Because part of me still wanted to believe I was overthinking things, that she was just being clumsy with her words, that her heart was still in the right place. But the proof said otherwise. The worst moment came when I saw her talking to Brittany, one of our mutual friends, at a pop-up event I was hosting. I'd stepped away to check inventory, and when I came back, I caught just enough of the conversation. She's good at branding, but she'd be lost without me. She doesn't have that social instinct. Brittany made eye contact with me right after. She looked guilty. Taylor? She didn't even flinch. That night, I cried in the shower. I didn't tell Chris. I didn't want another "maybe she didn't mean it" pep talk. I wanted someone to say, "That's messed up. You don't deserve that." Instead, I started saying it to myself. From that point on, things shifted. I stopped oversharing with her. I limited what I posted on my personal account. I updated my brand logins. I told Brittany what I'd been feeling, and to my surprise, she said, "Honestly, I've noticed too. She acts different when you're not around." I asked her if she could help me test something. She said yes without hesitation. That weekend, Brittany told Taylor I was planning to pitch to a new brand partner, someone with real reach. She made it sound accidental, like, "Oops, hope I didn't spoil anything." Then we waited. And like clockwork, Taylor DM'd that partner before I could, claimed she was co-founder of Bear Ritual, and wanted to discuss how we could collaborate. When the screenshots came in, I didn't feel shocked. I felt clear. There was no saving this, no excusing it, no patching it up with a heart-to-heart and a candlelit wine night. Taylor wasn't just a bad friend, she was a fake one. And I was finally ready to show her what happens when the curtain drops. You'd think catching your best friend pretending to be your business partner would bring some kind of closure, like a gotcha moment, or at least a clean break. But no, it just made everything heavier. Because once I saw how far Taylor was willing to go, I started looking back. And suddenly, all the little jokes, weird comments, and crossed lines didn't feel random anymore. They felt planned. After Brittany helped expose the DMs Taylor sent to the brand partner, I told Mike, the guy I'd been working with, everything. He was pissed on my behalf. "That's not just shady," he said. "That's theft. Reputation theft." He was right, but more than that, it was personal. Taylor didn't want to help me build something. She wanted to replace me in it. I didn't respond to her texts that week. She sent 3. "Hey, saw you looked stressed at the event. You good? Random, but did you ever reach out to that brand? Hope we're not weird now, lol. Let me know if I messed up." I didn't reply to any of them. Instead, I changed the locks on my online systems, updated every login and security question, and added 2-factor authentication on my storefront. I also emailed the brand she tried to reach and showed them the screenshots. They thanked me for the heads up, said they'd had a weird vibe anyway. Chris noticed something was wrong, finally. I had been keeping it mostly to myself. But the weight was wearing me out. I told him everything, from the small lies to the fake DMs to the co-founder title she gave herself. He listened, didn't interrupt once, then said, "I believe you, and I think it's time you stop protecting someone who's never protected you." That sentence hit like a train, because it was true. I'd spent years defending Taylor's personality. She's just intense. She's just opinionated. She doesn't mean anything by it. Turns out she meant all of it. Around that time, Brittany sent me a screenshot of Taylor's latest Instagram story. It was a close-up of her face with the caption, "Some people will outgrow you because they can't control you. Let them." The comments were filled with things like, "You've changed, Queen. Cut off the jealous ones. Protect your peace." I didn't comment. I didn't even care. Let her build whatever story she wanted. Because I had the truth. And more importantly, I had people who had seen it too. The real shift came when Mike asked if I wanted to join a networking dinner. It was invite only. A handful of indie brand founders and content creators, some of whom I'd followed for years. It felt like a big deal. It was a big deal. I said yes. And Taylor found out. I hadn't told her, obviously. But someone she followed tagged me in a post, and she put the pieces together. The night before the event, she texted me. It's wild how fast people forget who helped them. Then, I guess success changes some people. Good luck out there. I didn't answer. I didn't even screenshot it. I just stared at the message wondering how long she'd been pretending. Not just this year, but for all the years before that. The next day at the dinner, something strange happened. People weren't just nice. They were supportive in a way I hadn't felt before. Genuine questions. Actual collaboration. No underhanded shade. No subtle digs dressed up as advice. At one point, someone even said, "You've got a really clean brand. Has anyone ever tried to take credit for it?" It caught me off guard. I laughed, but my eyes probably said too much. Mike jumped in and changed the subject. Still, that moment stuck with me. I wasn't the only one this had happened to. Fake friendships in the creative space were common. The difference was, I wasn't going to let mine slide quietly. That weekend, I finally made a move. I posted a carousel on my business account with the caption, "If you're building something you care about, protect it. Not everyone clapping for you is happy for you. Not everyone standing next to you is rooting for you." The photos were subtle, behind the scenes of product making, packing orders, a close-up of my journal with the words "Stay Sharp" underlined. I didn't name names. I didn't need to. Taylor messaged me within the hour. "Cute post. At least give me credit for the branding if you're gonna throw shade." I read it, set my phone down, and smiled. That was her confession. Not legally, obviously, but emotionally? She knew she'd been caught. She just couldn't admit it out loud. And she wouldn't have to. Because I had something else planned. I never planned to expose Taylor. Not because I didn't want to. I did, desperately. But because part of me still couldn't believe she'd sunk that low. Even with the fake DMs, the lies, and the name stealing, some old habit kept whispering, "Don't be dramatic. She'll come around. This'll blow over." That voice had protected her for years. I finally decided to shut it up. The opportunity came at Brittany's birthday dinner, a small get-together at her apartment, versus with about 10 of us there. We'd all grown up together in the same town and somehow kept the circle semi-intact through moves, jobs, and life messes. Taylor was invited, obviously. Brittany didn't want to make a scene, and she told me, "I'm not picking sides, but if something happens, I won't act surprised." I wasn't mad. Honestly, I appreciated the honesty. So I said, let her come. Taylor showed up exactly the way I expected. Late, loud, and wearing a full face like she was walking a red carpet. She air-kissed Brittany, called me babe, like we hadn't been radio silent for weeks, and immediately took over the music like it was her house. She told the same story 3 times about some brand collab that never existed, then bragged about how everyone always comes to her for help. I stayed quiet, smiled, sipped. About an hour in, Brittany gave me a nod. Then she handed me the remote. I tapped the Bluetooth button, pulled up a voice memo on my phone, and hit play. The room went still. It was Taylor's voice, crystal clear. She's just boring. No edge, no fire. I basically gave her that whole brand idea. She just executed it first. Then, I'm gonna find a way to flip it. People like me more anyway. Then, she acts like she's some big CEO now. Please, if I wasn't in the background, no one would even know she exists. Silence. Nobody looked at her. Not even Brittany. Taylor opened her mouth, then shut it. Opened it again. Finally. "Wow, you recorded me? That's disgusting. Total invasion." I tilted my head. "Funny. Lying to my face for months didn't seem to bother you." Chris, who had been sitting quietly on the armrest of the couch, stood up and crossed his arms. "You could have just supported her like you said you would, but instead, you tried to take credit for everything." Taylor looked around for backup. There was none. Someone coughed. Someone else grabbed a cookie and avoided eye contact. Then, the worst part, for her, at least, Mike stepped forward. "For what it's worth," he said, "we all noticed. We just didn't say anything because, well, it wasn't our place. But now that it's out in the open, this is exactly who you've become." Taylor's jaw clenched. "This is so messed up. You all turned on me so fast. Just because she pointed at me like I'd tricked them into something. But I didn't have to say a word. I had receipts." After a few seconds of awkward silence, she stormed out, muttering something about jealous vibes and fake people. No one followed her. And the second she left, it was like the air came back into the room. Brittany hugged me hard and whispered, "That was the cleanest takedown I've ever seen." I didn't feel proud. Not exactly. I felt free. Later that night, I got a DM from someone who had been at the party but didn't say much during the drama. They wrote, "I used to think she was the confident one, but watching her tonight, you're the one who actually owns your voice." That message hit deeper than I expected, because for years, Taylor had been the loud one, the fun one, the center. But being loud doesn't make you right. Being seen doesn't mean you're known. And being followed doesn't mean you're trusted. I didn't talk about what happened online. No messy subtweets. No dramatic recaps. I didn't need to. Because after that night, Taylor started fading, quietly. People stopped tagging her in collabs. Friends backed away. Her stories went from constant to rare, then disappeared entirely. She unfollowed me 2 days later, blocked me the day after that. Guess the truth stings more when it's played out loud. After the party, life didn't suddenly turn into a fairy tale. There were no confetti explosions or big emotional speeches. Just space. Glorious, needed space. Space from her texts. Space from her energy. Space to breathe without wondering who was copying my next move, twisting my words, or trying to wear my skin like a costume. I didn't realize how much weight I'd been carrying until it was finally gone. Taylor disappeared from my life in stages. First, she stopped posting. Then she started soft-blocking mutuals. Not dramatic unfollows, just quiet removals from her online world. A few people tried to check in on her, but she ghosted them too. I wasn't surprised. Taylor didn't know how to exist without being the center, and once people stopped orbiting her, she drifted. One of her old captions resurfaced on my feed the other day. Someone had reshared it in a cringe post thread. It was an old one from when she was still clout chasing. People don't always clap for you because they're jealous. Sometimes they're just mad you didn't fail like they expected. Reading it now felt different. She'd written it about me, clearly. But it didn't hurt. It just confirmed what I already knew. She never wanted to grow with me. She wanted to outgrow me, even if it meant standing on top of me to do it. Chris and I moved a few months after that party, just across town. Nothing huge, but it felt fresh. I repainted my office, reorganized my supplies, and finally let myself dream bigger. I launched 2 new products that sold out in 3 days. I did a podcast interview with a creator I'd followed since college. I even got an invite to speak on a small business panel. And the best part? No one tried to take credit for it. Sometimes people ask if I ever miss her. And my answer is always the same. I don't miss Taylor. I miss who I thought she was. The person I believed was loyal, real, supportive. The friend I imagined when we were 17, planning fake road trips and writing songs on napkins. The one I defended, even when she didn't deserve it. But that version of her was just a story I told myself, and I've stopped rereading it. Brittany and I are closer than ever now. Funny how shared betrayal can build stronger bonds than years of friendship. She doesn't try to compete. She doesn't need credit. She just shows up, tells the truth, and lets me be my full self. Messy, loud, creative, anxious, and all. That's what real friendship looks like. No filters, no angles, no agenda. I've never told this whole story online, not until now, because I wanted to wait until I was past the part where I felt angry, bitter, or embarrassed. Remember to keep your enemies close, but your friends closer. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed, please like, share, and subscribe for more content. If you want to share your stories, please comment below. Additionally, what is your opinion on the poster's decision?